I'm playing taps, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Fantasy Football Harsh Reality. And the harsh reality this week is week 3 was a wild, topsy-turvy, unexplainable week in the NFL. And that being the case, I unfortunately was unable to win my games. I actually lost both. One of them, it was one of the, anyways, we'll get to all of it, but I went down, the Midnight Cowboys went down in both their leagues, and my sweet baby Dallas Cowboys. Unfortunately, the Midnight, hey Tyler, how are you, buddy? Welcome to the show. The Midnight Cowboys went down, and the Dallas Cowboys, woo, took a real butt fucking up there in Seattle, and I thought it might go the other way. I thought our pass rush, I thought the way Seattle was in disarray, but it just goes to show you that Seattle, a lot of these teams are, I'm seeing this quite a bit. We saw it with the Cincinnati Bengals, we saw it with the Baltimore Ravens, now we see it with Seattle, and we're seeing it with Denver. They're just different teams at home than they are on the road. So, but let's just get through this crazy. Mike Satera, how are you, buddy? And again, if you're listening to the audio broadcast, I do broadcast this live on Facebook, and which you won't be able to see. I also put it on my YouTube page, so you can see the replay. But consequently, people join the conversation. I like to welcome them. So you might see me drift away from my standard train of thought a little bit here and there, but for the most part, we're here to talk about fantasy football, brought to you by the Comedy Institute. You want to learn stand-up comedy? Go to thecomedyinstitute.com. It's my masterclass is available on video for digital download, or you can sign up for any of the classes I have coming up. Okay. Or if you want to book me to do stand-up, go to gregromerowilson.com. Or just hit me up on Twitter. It doesn't matter. I answer to everything. And now, ladies and gentlemen, what happened this week? What happened? I have no idea. I don't know what was going on. It was just so crazy. Okay, so I'm in this pick'em league, right? And in the pick'em league, you pick the game, the winner straight up. You don't have to pick who the by point spread. You don't have to pick winners like that. It's just straight up who's going to win which game, and then you list them. You know, you weight them. So if you pick number 16, you get 16 points if that guy pays off. Okay. And then 1 is the one that you have the least amount of confidence in. You're only betting 1 point on this guy. My number 16 pick was Minnesota over Buffalo. I mean, I was firmly convinced beyond convinced that that Minnesota was going to come out and fucking rough ride these boys in Buffalo. And you know what? And I wasn't alone. All of the people on the TV shows, all the morning game shows, they were all picking Minnesota. I don't think anybody across the board, and that's your first indicator that there's a major upset on the way, is the fact that everybody chooses one team. The second all the commentators are like, oh no, definitely Minneapolis, that's how you know it's just ripe for an upset. And unfortunately, that's what was going on. But I mean, on paper, Josh Allen has looked like absolute dog shit. And the only thing that made him look like premium dog shit was the dog shit of dog shit that is Peterman. So Peterman made him look like, hey, you know what? This dog shit is slightly better than that dog shit. So they put in Josh Allen, and we're talking about Minnesota at home. Possibly the number 1 defense in the league. Right up there in the top three, third at worst. Kirk Cousins, who's been on fire, 2 electric wide receivers, and even though Dalvin Cook wasn't in, Latavius Murray was still on fire last season and took them all the way to the NFC Championship game. So there was no reason to believe that this Minnesota team couldn't get it done. And so here's the thing. I go to, hey, Alex Davenport joining us right now. How are you, brother? Good to see you. If you have a fantasy football question, or if you have a big reaction, Joey G, how's your team doing? You guys just chime in right there in the comments. I'd love to talk about it. But I was at the Chargers and Rams game. I got tickets. Me and Tamara Katan, a brilliant comedian who's actually in my fantasy football league of comedians. He and I went, and as it turns out, actually Rene Garcia and Manny Maldonado were also there. 2 other fantastic comedians from my comedians league. So we're all at the LA Rams Chargers game. We're watching this game, which was a great game. It was the battle for LA. We had an incredible time. We got drunk. I was cheering for the Chargers, even though they were taking a beating. Well, not really a beating. I mean, it was a good game. game. Anyways, so I'm there, but we go into one of these booze tents that has all the games on, and I see I'm like, and I start screaming like, what the fuck is happening in Minnesota? And everyone starts turning around because they think that I'm, like, my level of alarm, I think they probably thought it was something more like a terrorist event or something, but it almost was nuclear in its defiance of reality. The fact that Minnesota could get shut out like that. And here's the other thing, and ultimately, it was this game that cost me 2 of my games. And the reason being is, one, I, like many people, switched over to Dan Bailey. And here's the thing, and Dan never got to kick. Not even one extra point. They went for a touchdown, they're down 27, they go for the 2-point conversion, don't get it. And so Bailey never comes back out on the field. And I mean, I think I had Vinatieri and I had somebody else, and I dropped him immediately. I'm all in on Dan Bailey, but I'll tell you this. I am sticking with Dan Bailey because Minnesota is still the kind of team you want. They're a dome team. They're a winning team. They're a great offensive team that gets you past the 50-yard line, that gets you in. Even if they stall out, that's when this guy's going to earn his money. And Dan Bailey is one of the most accurate kickers in the history of the NFL. I think he's number 3 in accuracy all time. So, I mean, everything was there. And now I get these alerts, from Yahoo. It's like, Dan Bailey's been dropped in 5,500 leagues. I'm like, good, drop him. You guys are fucking idiots. Because I'm telling you what, I still believe Dan Bailey is a kicker to own. But him giving me the Blutarski of the week, 0.0. I lost my games. Plus, I also had Stephon Diggs, and Stephon Diggs put up nothing. He went from like 30 points last week to 3 points this week. It was heartbreaking, and it cost me the games, at least one of them. Now, one of them I got a little cute in my lineup in that I went with Evan Ingram over Trey Burton, which I stand by that. He got hurt. Injuries are part of the game. AJ Green also went out. So, I mean, that happens. But I went with Keelan Cole from Jacksonville over Devin Funchess. And the reason I went over Devin Funchess, even though he's a true number 1 and Greg Olsen is out and I know all the business, I get it. I don't like Cam Newton as a thrower. But as it turns, and that Cincinnati defense, I mean, they look so great against the Ravens. I was really afraid of them. Rich Aronovich, how are you, buddy? Good to see you. How's your team doing? I took 2 L's this week, so I'm 4-2 overall. I went out, I took Keelan Cole out, I put him in, took out Devin Funchess. Of course Devin Funchess finds the end zone. Of course he has 7 receptions for like 107 yards. Of course he puts up 16 points. So I wound up getting completely butt-fucked. Oh, okay, all right, yes. And Bill Cochran joining us, great question. Who should you get instead of Garoppolo? Now, if you're in a league that has intelligent players, there's probably almost nobody out there. But I'll tell you the one guy that is probably still there. And again, this goes back to how you draft. This is why I believe in drafting 2 quality quarterbacks. Because if you don't, there's nobody there for you. I lost Garoppolo too, but he was my backup QB to Drew Breesy, baby. And now I have to ride Drew Brees because I don't have Jimmy G to back him up. And it's not worth a roster spot to keep the garbage that's left. If I lose Drew Breesy, I got to go streamer. But to answer your question, the best guy probably still remaining, if you don't want to make a trade on the waiver wire, is shockingly Ryan Tannehill. The guy's 3-0. He's been throwing. Now he's not putting up Patrick Mahomes numbers or anything. But right now, he finished above Tom Brady this week. So of course Tom Brady, pretty much everybody finished above Tom Brady this week, which is a tragedy. Because I had said angry Brady was going to come out from losing at Jacksonville, and then he got even more butt fucked by Detroit, which just goes to show you. This is one of those seasons where they're going to have a terrible September, and they'll get better in week 5 when Julian Edelman comes back, and he'll have his little safety blanket, his little underneath safety blanket, and then everything is going to go back to normal, and Sonny Michel's going to really do some stuff. But right now, unfortunately, it's not. But at the same time, and this is the quandary of having Tom Brady at this stage of his career, you have to start him. You have to start him. You can't sit Tom Brady. You don't do it. Unless you were one of those guys, you backed him up with Patrick Mahomes, then you can fucking do it. But short of that, you have to play Tom Brady, and that's the problem with having Tom Brady. And I'm kind of dealing with that with Antonio Brown. Bill Cochran, I'll say butt fuck a lot on this show. I say a lot of curse words. I hear a lot of people try and tune into it, and they have kids in the car. I forget. See, I don't have any kids yet, so I'm not acclimated to that. I have no sense. I'm still Comedy Club Uncensored, which even that is getting more and more censored. But yes, Bill Cochran, you got yourself in a butt fuck position not having him. So I imagine that your best bet right now is probably going to be Ryan Tannehill. Go out there and pick him up off the waiver wire, buddy. Geronimo Allison, you know what? I had said, now I didn't like him 2 weeks ago, but I had said on my podcast on Saturday, I like Geronimo Allison this week because I felt like they were gonna be playing tight on Josh Norman was gonna be all over Devontae Adams. Although, at the end of the day, Devontae Adams still ended up the day as their number one receiver, but there was plenty to go around. And yes, Geronimo Allison did have a good day, but I had said I liked Cobb and Geronimo Allison, and ultimately they both beat projection. They both did very well, but Devontae Adams shockingly still remained their number one receiver for the day. So, there you go. Oh, don't worry, Bill Cochran. I'll never stop butt fucking. All right. Let's keep it moving. And I picked the Raiders to finally get a win this week. I thought they would go down to Miami. I figured Miami don't play. And let me tell you something. The first half, it looked like the Raiders might. But at the end of the day, Miami fought their way back, and this is a Miami team. And if you're a Kenyon Drake owner, I mean, you're watching Miami go 3-0, and yet where's Kenyon Drake? I mean, talk about diminishing returns. Woo, that guy's a slide. Listen, but I don't know if it's always going to be that way this entire season. If you need a running back, this might be a good opportunity to buy low on Kenyon Drake, offer the owner whatever you got, maybe some, if you have a decent second tight end, you drafted well, you got an extra guy, maybe you could, offer him a trade, get Kenyon Drake, because I think he may still have a good season. But right now, he is a buy low opportunity on Kenyon Drake. But again, the Raiders ended up fucking up. And I would like to talk about Jared Cook, because Jared Cook should have had 2 touchdowns in that game. If you watch that game, he had 2 receptions where he landed on the line. And then they're like, no, bring it back. It's on the half-yard line. And they're not throwing to the tight end again to the half-yard line. They're going to give it to one of the running backs, and they're going to run it in, which is exactly what happened. And so I believe in Jared Cook, and I continue to believe in Jared Cook because he should have had a 2-touchdown day. He's very much a red zone involved in this Raiders team. I like him, and especially now everyone was high on George Kittle, but now you got C.J. Beathard coming in. That's going to be tough. And yes, let's talk about Derrick Henry. Allow me one more time to reprise the opening number. Okay, I don't know what to say. I believed him in the preseason, but I didn't play him. I had a gut feeling. I said that in my Saturday show. I had a gut feeling he might defy. It was one of those ones where you shouldn't do anything, so maybe he does everything, but I still didn't play him because fuck that shit. But my gut also told me not to play Adrian Peterson, and Adrian Peterson blew the back off the joint. So, your gut's up, your gut's down. But I was not going to take the risk on Derrick Henry, but I'm not dropping him either. I don't know why. I feel like, here's what's going to happen. We're going to get to about week 7. I'm going to drop Derrick Henry, and then you know what's going to happen? He's going to light it up down this stretch. I'm sorry, I'm holding Derrick Henry until the end of the season. He's going to ruin my roster, and I'm going to ruin him for everybody else by keeping him, but that's just what's going to happen. But yes, Adrian fucking Peterson, turning back the clock. I fucking love you. God, I love Adrian Peterson. But of course I didn't play him. Of course I did not play him, because why would you play Adrian Peterson against the Green Bay defense at home in Washington? You wouldn't do that unless you're smarter than me. I went with Matt Breida, and unfortunately Breida, that split, he hyperextended his knee early, and then this tough motherfucker, he's so afraid of losing his job. He's so afraid of losing his job to Morris that he was like, no, come on back in. But because he was out, Morris got the goal line stands, Morris got the touchdowns. But I still like Breda, but at the end of the day, that's a pretty even split, and I wish I didn't have to use him as my WR2, but I didn't trust Adrian Peterson. And talking about Adrian Peterson, do you hear me? I have to remember to breathe because I get so excited. I don't breathe. Adrian Peterson, to me, it's going to be an every other week kind of situation where he's going to give you WR running back 2 points. So next week I wouldn't play him. Luckily, next week's his bye week. Then he comes off the bye week to play in Monday Night Football. So I love Adrian Peterson in week 5. Luckily, don't have to make a decision about him going into week 4. But let's talk about, this was a big week. And again, this week, this was like we were in the upside down. Down was up, up was down. Nothing made sense. Everything went crazy, okay? I mean, some of the mainstays stayed. The LA Rams, I mean, this is a team that just has got so many tools, so many weapons, is so strong on defense. I don't know that they can have a bad day, even if they have a bad day. But let's look at the WR2s, because it was a big day for WR2s. Your number 1 receiver of the day, Calvin Ridley. Now, this is a guy I told you 2 weeks ago, go out and get Calvin Ridley. Now, did I go out and get Calvin Ridley? No, because it was the same week as that kid out of the Browns, which I like, who was a big play guy, and I ended up going with him, and I only went with him because I felt like over the season, he was going to have more opportunities because he was the clear number 2 to Jarvis Nelson. Jarvis Landry, rather, and they pretty much jettisoned everybody else. They got rid of Josh Gordon, so I liked this kid. But then, I love Calvin Ridley. Somebody else picked him up for absolutely nothing on the waiver wire, and he ends up going off. But with Calvin Ridley, the consistency, I do believe he's the next Julio Jones. I really do. But I think consistency isn't going to be there the same way. And really, we got to see what we got now with Baker Mayfield in the saddle. Although it was clear, because he's been practicing with the 2s, that he had a greater chemistry this week coming into the game with Rashard Higgins, than he did with Callaway. So I'm a little worried about that choice. Obviously, if you didn't pick up Ridley, and obviously nobody played him. Nobody played him. Nobody put in Ridley unless you were completely fucking decimated a wide receiver. I would love to, and if you did, you were absolutely jizzing in your pants all afternoon. But most guys had to watch 40 points pile up on their bench. Another one that piled up points was your number 3 receiver, Jordy Nelson. 6 receptions, 173 yards, a touchdown. He threw 29 points into the bank, man. That's pretty fucking great. I'm one of those guys that's been holding Jordy Nelson, and then they bring back Martavis Bryant. I'm like, it's over, Nelson, and I got rid of him for that Callaway kid, or whatever the fuck his name is up there in at the Browns. So again, maybe I'm screwed, but it's a long season, and I'm holding on. I'm holding on to Callaway. I'm not getting rid of him because, again, I think he's got real opportunity up there, especially we got to see what we got in Baker Mayfield. That may be happening. Okay. But Jordy, I'll tell you, and number 2, Robert Woods. This is a guy you may have dropped. You certainly probably didn't put him in your lineup because he's been very disappointing. This was his week. This was the week for Robert Woods. 10 receptions, 104 yards, 2 touchdowns. I was there. I witnessed it. And every time I'm like, Woods again? Like, where's he been all season? I don't know where the fuck he's been. But he finally shows up. And again, this is a guy. Can he do it again? Can you count on this week after week? And the answer is no, because Cooper Kupp still had a big game. But Brandon Cooks' numbers were down. And again, Cooks has been the guy leading the numbers so far. So that's the problem with owning these guys. I mean, yes, there's a lot to go around, but at the same time, it's definitely going to be one guy's day per week, and you just don't know which guy it's going to be. Here's number 2. Jordy Nelson was number 3. Number 4, highest scoring guy, my boy, Mike Evans. Mike Evans has been so tremendous. Everybody, and I said this in my post-draft special, how Mike Evans had dropped to me in the 4th round. People were so afraid of these games with Fitzpatrick, and I said, this is how Fitzpatrick is at his best, and it might actually be better for him with Fitzpatrick than with Jameis Winston. And I said it, and guess what? I was fucking right again. So Mike Evans, number 4 receiver, number 3 on the season, fucking crushing it. He had 6 receptions, 137 yards and a TD. 25 points in the bank. And then number 5, Tyler Boyd. Okay, everybody, I was wrong. As right as I was about Mike Evans, as right as I was about Calvin Ridley, although I didn't call that for this week. I just said he was going to be great. I'm surprised. I was that wrong about Tyler Boyd. Now, yes, A.J. Green went out in the second half. He went but you would think that would put more pressure on Tyler Boyd, but he produced even more after Green went out. And that's also one of the reasons I don't get Green ever, because he leaves games and doesn't come back for weeks. This is what he does. He's one of those guys. I don't trust him, and you saw it right there. If you have Tyler Boyd, great. If you played him, you're a smarter man than me. I didn't like him going into this matchup against a very good Carolina defense. But at the end of the day, they showed up, and fuck it, the guy's on fire, and I believe in him now. I'm now a believer in Tyler Boyd. Not so much Geronimo Allison. The Bengals. What we've seen also is a lot of these teams are just much better at home than they are on the road. The Bengals, the Ravens. I thought the Bengals defense was really going to give them a lot more trouble, but Christian McCaffrey ran all, and this is a guy, I've talked about it. I've mentioned Christian McCaffrey more than Adrian Peterson, more than anybody, more than any of the guys. I've got Saquon Barkley. I never talk about Saquon Barkley that much because he's kind of doing what he's supposed to do, you know. And we just got a question in from Mike Ball about Baker Mayfield. So again, just touching, we got to see what we got in Baker Mayfield. Obviously, he's got the charisma. He's got the energy. But does he have the accuracy? Does he have the patience? You know, he definitely has better arm strength than Sam Darnold. My major problem with Sam Darnold right now, his decision-making is great, but his arm strength is fucking garbage. He's floating shit sideways across the field. What, are you fucking stupid? Baker Mayfield, I don't know if he's got the decision-making, but he definitely has the arm strength. So, and while he came out, I mean, you have to admit, he rejuvenated the team when he came out, okay? And we all saw that. Everybody came alive for the Browns, and the whole team started clicking. Even Carlos Hyde is the #2 highest scoring back on the week. Everybody got better because they believe in Baker Mayfield. But we saw this exact same thing happen week 1 with the Jets, with Sam Darnold. Everybody all fucking juiced for the new season, all the hype. And then what happened? So, next week, we have to see. I would not start Baker Mayfield. I mean, of course, I wouldn't have started Patrick Mahomes. So, you know, listen, I'm a more cautious guy than that. But we have to wait and see with Baker Mayfield. Is he Sam Darnold, or is he more towards Sam Darnold, or is he more towards Patrick Mahomes? He's not going to be as bad as Sam Darnold in his second 2 games, and he's not going to be as good as Patrick Mahomes, but it's interesting to see which one he projects a little bit closer to, and I think he's going to be pretty good. If you have Deshaun Watson versus Mahomes coming up this week, I mean, everything is saying Patrick Mahomes. Deshaun Watson is doing a lot of his points in catch-up time, whereas Mahomes is very low flaw, a lot of touchdowns. I mean, right now, everything says Mahomes, but I haven't really looked at the matchups. That's something I do later in my end of the week show. So, Jeff, what's up, buddy? Good to hear from you. How you feeling? My man Jeff Reagan just tuned in. And this is a guy who I love with all my heart. I've known him more than half my life. And the guy recently went through some real bullshit, man. And you know, hey, listen, shit happens. And I love you. And I think and I'm so glad to see you're coming back strong, man. You stick with it. I'm here for you, buddy. So with right now, I would say Holmes, but I haven't really analyzed the matchup. But everything right now is projecting towards Mahomes. But to have Mahomes and Watson, you did a really good, really great draft right there. And again, that's why you get 2 quarterbacks. And again, the Cowboys suck this week because they have no receivers. And it's hard to win in Seattle, and I think they were expecting Seattle to be in a little more disarray, but unfortunately at home, they just galvanized, and they showed up to be the team that they were. But, you know, hey, listen, the Giants suck a lot more cock than the Cowboys so far, so they barely squeaked out a win down there in Houston. They should have fucking lost that game. So, and you're right, the coach in Dallas, he's not an inspiring coach. I mean, he's a guy who basically knows how to appease Jerry Jones and not lose so much that he loses games. I'm not a huge supporter of Jason Garrett either, but they're my Cowboys. I love my Cowboys, and I'm always going to support the Cowboys. And again, if they didn't go out and get Josh Gordon, the problem with the Cowboys will always come down to the fact that the owner is the general manager, and he doesn't like to spend his own fucking money. Simple as that. So, moving on, and, you know, that's the thing is what we're seeing a lot of right now in the NFL. What we're seeing is we have a lot of wide receiver 2s with wide receiver 1 talent. And they're flourishing because wide receiver 1 is taking their top cornerback, which means their secondary guy, which in a lot of cases is not a star, a lot of times it's a rookie, that they're counting on, is covering a guy with W. So we're seeing this weird dynamic where, you draft high for the WR1, but the WR2s are the ones walking out the door with all the points. For example, Cincinnati, you got Tyler Boyd, who gave you 25 points on a projected 9, versus AJ Green, who gave you 8 fucking points on a projected 14. Again, he went out in the second half, and this is the problem with AJ Green. The guy's fucking built out of toothpicks. You go over to Oakland, Jordy Nelson, he got you 33 points on a projected 4, okay? Amari Cooper gave you 2 points on 11 projected. I mean, that's fucking garbage. And that's one of the confounding things about Amari Cooper. That inconsistency is the most consistent thing about Amari Cooper. In Houston, Will Fuller, gave you 20 points on projected 11 versus Hopkins, who gave you 11 points on projected 17. We're seeing it all over the board. Ridley, 41 on 9. Jones, 13 on 16. We're seeing it over and over and over again where the WR2s are taking over. And of course, Galladay, 14 points on a projected 11, whereas Golden Tate gave you 9 points on a projected 12. So, you're seeing it over and over where the WR2 is outperforming the WR1. Now, this is something that happens a lot in the earlier half of the season. Do not fret, my friends. Do not be concerned, because as the season goes on, defenses adjust to start covering these guys more closely. Now, the one place where I don't know that this is going to change all season is in Pittsburgh. Juju Smith, 19 points on a projected 13, Antonio Brown, 14 on a projected 20. The problem here is this, and I'm just gonna pose this question right now. When Antonio Brown came in, it was Mike Wallace. Then all of a sudden, Antonio Brown was the man. And they thought that Antonio Brown was the greatest thing, that he couldn't be touched, right? That's what everybody was saying. The question now is Juju Smith-Schuster actually a better receiver than Antonio Brown? That's the question. Because when you look at the way the performance is coming out, defenses are going to have to shift over to Juju Smith sooner or later. And right now, there does not seem to be the chemistry. Definitely, it seems like Roethlisberger is looking for Juju. He sees Juju open a lot more than Antonio Brown, which of course sucks because I have Antonio Brown. I fucking have Antonio Brown, first time ever. And when I got him, I was like, I fucking got you, motherfuckers. I'm going to run the table now. And of course, Juju, and I feel like this is going to be the entire season. Juju Smith is going to outpoint Antonio Brown. I think Antonio Brown is disgusted. I think he's embarrassed. But I don't think it's going to change. He finally busted his TD cherry this week, and I thought, this is it. And then he didn't see shit for the rest of the fucking game. At the end of the day, I think one day we may look back and be like, remember the way Juju Smith just came out and just stole the show from Antonio Brown? This is the way it goes, and we may be watching that season where the tide does change in this case. The Giants finally got a win. And it's so funny because my Cowboys beat the Giants last week, and there's this guy, this fucking loudmouth, who I love with all of my heart, named Vinny Oshana, who's a huge Giants fan, and I'm fucking texting him shit, and he didn't say shit. He didn't say one fucking word, not one comeback, didn't say shit all fucking week, and then we lose to Seattle in Seattle, and they squeak past Houston, and he's like, hey, how does it feel to lose to the shitty Seahawks? I'm like, I don't know, how does it fucking feel to lose to the team that lost the fucking Seahawks, you piece of shit? Took him a week to come up with that. And then I was like, you know what that is? Weak. And he's like, I guess that's a no. It was really his worst repartee in the history of our rivalry. Really disappointing, Vinny. Super fucking disappointing. But I love you, and you're still one of the greatest comedians I've ever seen in my life. Does Bell get traded? Who knows what's going on? It might happen. They might just be like, you know what, we're sticking with Connor. But why? I mean, because they're going to lose him at the end of the season anyway. Right now, he's got trade value, so maybe why not? Yeah, fucking trade him. Because they obviously have no intention of paying him what he wants. So yeah, fucking trade him. That's what I would do. But who knows at this point? We don't know, and when it finds out, it'll be very interesting. And let's hope that somebody out there is, I mean, if you've been holding on to him, you're holding on to him. You have to hold on to him. But right now, I mean, he's probably fucking your lineup. I know the guy I lost to, it was his first win, and he's the one that's been sitting on Le'Veon Bell. And I just, again, Antonio Brown didn't give him the points that I needed. And again, playing Dan Bailey for the Vikings, and he can't put it on Dan. He didn't miss anything. He never got on the fucking field. It was the strangest shit, and that cost me the game. So we'll see if Bell gets traded. Cowboys got Trance. Dude, talk about the upside down world. I was on here on Saturday going, here comes Angry Brady. My favorite Brady is Angry Brady. Brady, after loss, is as close as you can get to a lock as there is in the NFL, and that he got butt fucked up one side of the field and down the other by a Lions team who has looked like garbage through the first 2 weeks. What that was about, I have no idea. So, it was the week of the upside down. Minnesota getting shut out. They finally scored one touchdown, versus Buffalo, a team that, again, it was what a strange week. And one of the things I think we have to start considering, we have to start thinking about this Titans defense. This Titans defense that held the Jaguars to 3 field goals. Or no, did they win that game? Maybe the Jags lost. Did they lose that? 9-6, one of them. It was fucking garbage. Let's take a look. Wait a minute. Let me pull it up here on the... Yeah, the Titans ended up winning at 9-6. They held the Jaguars to 2 fucking field goals. The team that beat the Patriots. So yes, the Patriots, until I really think, and they've done this before. The Patriots have done this before, where they've started out incredibly slow in September, had a bad month, and then they kick in. And I think it's all about Julian Edelman. Julian Edelman comes back, he starts running those crossing routes, giving them the underneath, and the whole thing. Then Hogan will be worth something, but until then, Hogan is garbage. And so, yes, the Jags lost. That's right, the Jags. So I think we have to just start. If you're streaming a defense, or if you don't have a great defense, I think it's time to pick up the Tennessee Titans defense, because this defense has proven that they are, even though the offense is sputtering, the defense is just fantastic. Again, Mike Vrabel, defensive guy coming from the Patriots. You pick up this Titans defense, or at least you got to start considering them at least a streaming option. All right. Let's talk about players that fell back down to earth. Obviously, Minnesota, Kirk Cousins, Stephon Diggs, and the Minnesota defense, they all fell back down to earth. But these are guys, I think, they pick it right back up. I think this was the slap in the face Minnesota needed. I think they felt like, and with the Jaguars, can I tell you, I played Keelan Cole, and then something in my mind was like, there's only one thing about that. And that's, I feel like the Jaguars may have felt like beating the Patriots was winning the Super Bowl and the season was over. And I feel like they the same thing with Minnesota. I think they waltzed into these games feeling like they could not be beaten, and did not bring the same focus, did not bring the same intensity, and they ran into a team that had that hunger, that had that intensity, that absolutely put the wood to them, and I think that's what really was the uniting factor in that instance. Keelan Cole, again, fell back down to earth. Funches, of course, he showed up. That was a big mistake on mine. Andrew Kennedy, good to see you, brother. Thank you. Eric Seifert, thank you for joining the show. If you have any tragedies, and one of the games that I lost, it was one of those ones where I had the second highest score in the league. I would have beaten every single other team. I was playing the guy in 10th place, and this guy, of course, had his best game, scored 170 points. Possibly the highest score so far this season. That piece of shit, the Hogs. Great guy, though, Dave Kerr. I love you, man. But god damn it! It was a bad beat. It was a bad beat. So, Philip Lindsay floated back down to earth. He's a guy I really like, but he only ran for 20 yards. Gave you 2 points. That's fucking garbage. Deshaun Jackson. Who called it? I called it. I said it was the end of Fitzmagic. Now, granted, he found a little leftover magic in the bank right there at the end, but I had said that this was going to be the year he floated back down. This is going to be the week he floated back down to earth, because Fitzpatrick, at the end of the day, doesn't really want to be the starter. He likes this position. He likes being the hero. He likes just coming in. He doesn't want to. You hand him the mantle and he's going to suck it. He showed you that throwing 3 interceptions in the first fucking half. Now, he did manage to pull out a little bit of magic at the end of the day, sprinkled the magic towards my boy Mike Evans' way. But at the end of the day, Fitzpatrick showed that he really does want to go back to being a backup. Oh, listen, Matt Ryan. Right, you were going to put Wentz in over Ryan, and that was the way I lost the other one. I had Drew Brees, who put up 45 fucking points, and then he had Matt Ryan, who put up 50 fucking points. Oh my God, any other team, and I fucking kicked that ass. Yes, Jack Asadoran, you had first pick of the draft, and you are in first place. Go fuck yourself. All right, but yes, Fitzpatrick managed to pull out one more game out of his ass, although he looked like garbage in the first half, and I knew he would because he wants to go sit the fuck back down. Amari Cooper. This is the problem with owning Amari Cooper. 1 week he's going to give you this week 3 lousy points. You can count on this kind of fucking Richter scale fucking shit from Amari Cooper all season long. There's a couple guys it's time to let go of, people. Time to let go of. Peyton Barber. I loved you out of preseason. I thought you were great. And maybe you get better when Jameis Winston comes back, but your absolute lack of production in the midst of an incredible passing attack, the fact that you can't produce more on the ground, I'm sorry, you're out. You're fired, okay? Tom Brady or Big Ben for week 4. Oh, my God. I would have to look at the matchup, and I'm not looking at the matchups right now. This is the recap of week 3. I would have to break it down. I mean, right now, I would say Big Ben, but again, it's all about matchups. And if I want to, I'll try and find that, and we'll look at it really quick, and I'll try and get an answer for you. I can just go back up here. Another guy you need to let go of, it's time to let go of Rex Burkhead. Rex Burkhead, he's just got no place right now until somebody else gets injured in that Patriots offense between Sony Michel and James White. There's just nowhere for, and Rex Burkhead gets injured every time he takes a shower. The guy can't run out of the tunnel without fucking getting a concussion. Honestly, get rid of Rex Burkhead. And Hogan, you need to at least just leave him on the bench until Julie Edelman comes back. He takes the underneath, and then you will have a chance. Okay, let's look at what's coming up this week. Coming up, let's see, Pittsburgh and Tampa. Let me see if I can find all of the week 4 schedule. And we'll see about Big Ben versus Tom Brady. So those are the guys to get rid of, though. Get rid of Peyton Barber, Rex Burkhead, and Hogan. Now, someone that finally, let's say, it's time to say hello to some people. Let's say hello to David Johnson finally showing up, even though he still is not giving you what he wants to give you. I mean, this is a guy who wanted 1,000 receiving yards and 1,000 rushing yards, and he had 31 yards rushing, 30 yards receiving, but he didn't get a touchdown, so at least he got you 14 fucking points. But again, listen, if you're looking for a buy low opportunity, I bet his owners are someone's looking to get rid of fucking David Johnson. Maybe they might need a quarterback at this point. There might be a trade opportunity, a buy low opportunity on David Johnson, because you got to think he's got to catch fire at some point, right? You know, I don't know. It's just, it's befuddling what's going on right down there. Okay. So looking at this, we have New England at home versus Miami. And where is Pittsburgh? And Pittsburgh at home versus Baltimore. Wow. Baltimore defense is probably better than the Miami defense. I hate to say it. I would go Tom Brady. I would go for next week, and that's just at a glance. I'd probably go Tom Brady. Even though that has not been working out. I mean, the guy at home versus Miami, I mean, they do not want to get beat by Miami in their own home. I'd go with Tom Brady. Okay, but that's enough of next week. Right now, we're looking back at the horrible week that was week 3. Let's just forget about it. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. It's like a bad experience. It's like a bad night out drunk where you got all emotional and you got a fight with your girlfriend and everything fell apart and you walked home alone and then you don't know where she is. She spends the night out. You don't know where, right? And you're just all, okay, and you just want to fucking forget about it. You just want to move on. Let's just act like it never fucking happened. Guys, you want to say hello to Kareem Hunt. Welcome to fucking fantasy. If you've been waiting for him to break out, he finally got you some TDs. Okay, Mark Ingram. We want to say hello to Mark Ingram. He's coming back, and not this week, but the next week. You know what? Maybe he's a guy. If you see him struggling in a position, you can get Mark Ingram away from him. He might be a good RB2 for you. Good time to trade for him. Jared Cook. Listen, like I said, the guy should have had 2 TDs. I like his involvement, particularly in the red zone. So I love Jared Cook. Albert Wilson, now's the time to pick him up. In Miami, he doesn't get a lot of receptions. He's not a volume play, but I liked him in preseason because he's the big play guy, and that's what happened this week. 2 receptions for 74 yards and a touchdown. He gave you 22 points. Is he going to do that every week? Probably not, but I mean, I don't know. I like the guy. I think towards the end of the season, if one of these Kenny Stills, somebody goes down, Albert Wilson's going to have a real nice role to play. Cooper Kupp, I think you got to play him now. I think now the consistency is there for him. He's not going to be your WR1, but he's a great he's a good flex, possibly WR2. Godwin, oh my God. You finally get good Marquise Goodwin back in San Francisco, right? And he's the guy, great chemistry with Garoppolo, and right when he comes back, Garoppolo goes down. So say hello and say goodbye to Marquise Goodwin, because who knows what his relationship's going to be like. You have both. Okay, so Eric Seifert is saying, is it bad that I have both Devontae Freeman and Fournette on the bench and starting Hyde and Lynch? I mean, listen, those guys are injured. You don't have them on the bench. You just drafted guys that got injured. I mean, the injuries are part of the game. At least you still have Hyde and Lynch. These are 2-point performers that did relatively good for you. I'd say you had a good draft, actually. Those are great guys to back up 2 guys that I was worried about with the injuries. Not so much with Freeman, even though he was a little dinged up. And I hate guys who are already injured at the beginning of the season. But I was particularly worried about Fournette. And I said it and said it and said it. And now here we're seeing why, losing 20 pounds of muscle maybe isn't such a great thing for a running back. It's time to say hello to Sammy Watkins. Sammy Watkins, listen, the chemistry's there. Clearly, there's something happening between him and Mahomes, enough for you to at least, he's probably on the waiver wire in your league. Go out and pick him up. And Geronimo Allison, he is going to have some games. I'm not starting him every single week, but I liked him last week, and I say you pick him up. He gave you 16 points on an 8 projection. Let's hand out some effort awards, man. Matt Breida got a hyperextended knee, came back in the game, and he still dropped 13 points in the bucket and beat projection by 1 point. But still, that's pretty good. McCaffrey, 184 yards rushing. Not catching, not combined. Rushing from the line against a very good Cincinnati defense, or so I thought. Again, McCaffrey, someone I was super high on. It breaks my heart that I didn't get him. I went with Melvin Gordon over him because Melvin Gordon to me is just such a beautifully proven commodity. And don't get me wrong, Melvin Gordon has been very good. He's had some very tough matchups so far this year, but I just love McCaffrey. Kelsey's proven to be worth every penny so far this season. I mean, the chemistry is there with him and Mahomes. Mahomes is going to him in all the right situations. If you've got Kelsey, you're very happy. 8 receptions, 114 yards, and he gets a TD. 17 points on a 13-point projection. Fantastic week for him. Wentz, okay, listen, I'm not putting him in my effort awards. I'm actually moving him down to my not sure category. But Thielen, even in a blowout, Thielen still managed to put 20 yards, 105 yards on 14 receptions. I mean, he's still had a huge day. And as much, again, Thielen is going to be your volume play. Stephon Diggs is going to be a big play guy. He's going to be your touchdown guy. And unfortunately, there were 0 touchdowns for him this week because they only scored 1, and it was garbage. So, what are you going to, I think it went to Kyle Rudolph, if I'm not mistaken. But when there's only 1, what are you going to do? And Marshawn Lynch, the guy is still cranking out. 64 yards rushing, 22 yards passing and a TD, 16 points, 12 in the over projected 12. He gets an effort award. Again, like I said, you're lucky to have Marshawn Lynch and Carlos Hyde. 2 guys. Carlos Hyde was the number 2 highest point getter in the league this week, so you did great. So no, it's, if I were you, maybe I'd look for some trade opportunities. Trade one of those guys away and get yourself a top-end receiver, man. Okay, now, let's talk about things I'm not sure about. Okay, there's some things that we got to see what's happening. What we're seeing a lot of is these situations where you have 2 tight ends and it's kind of alternating, which one is kind of really the man week to week. I mean, in Tampa Bay, Cameron Brate versus O.J. Howard. I mean, they seem to be evenly splitting this thing, and you don't know who's going to get the touchdowns week to week. You're seeing the same thing now in Philadelphia. Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz. Goddard's got a bunch of points. He was one of the top tight ends this week too. So I mean, you're seeing this in Pittsburgh with Vance McDonald. Last week it was Jesse James. This week it was Vance McDonald. So while these guys look great week to week, they're hard to depend on week to week because it could switch either way. Now, a guy that I think might still be out there, Tyler Eifert. Nobody likes him because he gets hurt just as much as Rex Burkhead. But guess what? He's still in there. He's still healthy. He put up 13 points this week on a projected 8. So get out there and get Tyler Eifert. Tom Brady, I was just saying, I'm not sure about him. I mean, 133 yards, 1 TD and a pick, 9 points. Tom Brady, again, but this week was the upside down. And I just, in my mind, you know what? I can't see him sucking like that again at home in New England. I would play, you have to play Tom Brady at home. Zeke. I mean, he's not bad, but he's not what you wanted. Again, because there's no Dez Bryant. Hey, come on, Dallas. Just go re-sign him. Get him on a bargain. Get him back in there. If he'll come back, have him come back. Tyreek Hill. Talk about what is going on. It's like now he's just getting it to everybody but Tyreek Hill. First week, it was all Tyreek Hill. This is points. Here's what we got. 40 points week 1. 18 points week 2. Still great. 8 points week 3. This is an incredible slide. But I think that means he's also due for a bounce back. I like him going into next week. And Kenyon Drake, this is another guy, because of the low production, because he keeps losing ground. I mean, Gore was the starter. He had 5 rushes for fucking 3 yards. He put in 2 points. Fucking garbage. I don't know about Kenyon Drake. But this might be a good opportunity to fucking get him in a trade if you want to buy low. And finally, let's talk about some waiver wire guys. I mean, Godwin, yes, Godwin is a guy. He looked pretty good. He got a TD, but who's going to be the quarterback? Are they going to switch the quarterback? Or are they going to keep the same quarterback? I can't tell. I have no idea. So, Godwin, I mean, you might want to pick him up off the waiver wire, but because Deshaun Jackson is dependent on Fitzpatrick. I don't know if people are saying he keeps the job. We'll see. But without him, you have no idea what you're getting. But Dallas Goedert now seems to be worth picking up. Chris Carson finally woke up and delivered some points, but it was against a Dallas Cowboys team that just looked like garbage. Like total fucking famunda cheese. The fuck kind of dick cheese football was that? I was so glad I was so drunk and tired I basically slept through it. But that's just fucking horrible. Sammy Watkins, and you got to pick up Vance McDonald because really on the depth chart, Vance McDonald is at the top of the depth chart. What a week. Oh my God. So much absolute lunacy. Everything up north went crazy, and it wasn't because of the weather. Who knows what the fuck that shit was going on. It was so bizarre. But at the end of the day, I mean, listen, I should have won my games, but I didn't. I got a little cute in one league, and again, the getting 0 points from your kicker that you expect 13 points from, and then you lose by 15. I mean, tough week, but I expect bounce backs across the board. And listen, this Antonio Brown thing, I mean, I don't know, man. You can't trade him; he's too good. But we'll see. I expect big bounce backs. We'll be back. I'll be back on Friday or Saturday for my week 4 preview. This has been Fantasy Football Harsh Reality. I'm Greg Romero Wilson. Remember, if you want to learn stand-up, check out my website, thecomedyinstitute.com. If you want to book me to come to your town and do some yucks, you can hit me up through my website, GregRomeroWilson.com. You guys, and also catch me out on MMA Roasted tomorrow. You guys have been a lot of fun. Take care. Good night.